This is our new normal. The idea that sports and politics are going to be separated anymore during Trump's life is a fallacy. And I said this was coming. For a long time, I've said the NBA was the one place Trump had stayed away from. He has very low popularity in some of the major cities that host NBA teams. He has very low popularities among black communities and others. And this is his first foray into an NBA game in a long time. But it's not the end. Welcome to Independent Americans. Welcome to episode 544. I'm your host, Paul Rieckhoff. It is Monday, June 8th, which means it is Manosphere Monday. Cue the music.
Manosphere Monday.
And I am coming to you from New York City, USA, and the weather here is ready. This place is buzzing. This city is alive in ways we've never seen before. Trump is inbound to do things we've never seen before. New York City is alive and buzzing, and the energy is frenetic. More on that coming up. I am wearing my New York jersey in honor of Karl Anthony Towns, who majorly stepped up Friday night and will continue to do so tonight. But we've got a lot to get into before we get to that. Today's artist of the day to kick off the new week is Fat Joe. Fat Joe, the hip-hop icon. Most of all, because if you don't know, he is a massive Knicks fan. He was born Joseph Antonio Cartagena, better known by his stage name as Fat Joe. He represents the Boogie Down Bronx. You may know him from hits including Lean Back and Make It Rain and All the Way Up. He's been in a bunch of films like Scary Movie 3 and Happy Feet, and he's been in Spike Lee's Netflix series, She's Gotta Have It. But you will know him most of all, probably if you're under 30 or so, because he's at every Knicks game. He will be there tonight, and he will be bringing the energy like I'm going to try to do today and throughout this entire week. I'm going to bring you the 5 Eyes, our starting lineup, our big 5 to win our championship of independent media: independence, integrity, information, inspiration, and impact. No guest today, just me to kick off a week and try to bring you toughness in the clutch like, I don't know, Jalen Brunson? I hope so. But Monday is here, a new week is here, a lot of news is here, and it's time, of course, to stay vigilant. All right, as we head into a new week and another wild week, summer is finally upon us, but there's one top topic. And the top topic is, unfortunately, that Trump contaminates everything he touches. Everything he touches suffers. And now, tonight, this week, that will include the NBA Finals. Let's talk about where we are. The Knicks have won on Friday night in San Antonio. So tonight, for the first time since 1999, an NBA Finals game will be played at Madison Square Garden here in New York City. We're so happy. Everybody's happy that the finals will be here for the first time in a generation. I'm also pretty happy that we're going to have the Inside the NBA crew to take us on television through that, for those of us who don't have the money to get inside. But Fat Joe had a great line that I want to share with you. He said, "I seen Hasidic Jews breakdancing with black kids. This is the greatest unification of the city since 9/11. And I think that is true and very, very important. We have a unique moment of unity happening in the city, especially after a very divisive election. Yes, Mamdani has been the story, but he only won 51% of the vote. And there's a feeling, a vibe, an energy in the city that I really hadn't thought of the last time I saw it. It's true. It was 9/11. You've got people in the streets, you've got people uniting, and maybe it's a kind of inspiration and unity we can replicate across this country. But it's a unique moment of unity happening in the city. And tonight, Trump is going to do his best to fuck it up, like he does with everything, because everything that Trump does suffers. Now, here's the important thing to know. No sitting president has gone to an NBA Finals game, and there's a reason why. Because it totally disrupts security for the entire event. NBA basketball venues are much smaller. Security is much tighter. Fans have much closer access to the court. But even Obama, who's probably the biggest basketball fan we've seen in the Oval Office, he has a basketball court in his new presidential library. Even President Barack Obama never went to the finals because he understood that he would overwhelm it. And that's already happening here in New York. And fans are pissed, most of all because of the additional security. Most of Midtown is shut down, and because fans are now prohibited from hosting watch parties outside of Madison Square Garden. They, of course, can't bring bags into the venues, but the outside venues where the common people, the people who can't afford $8,000 or higher just to get in the building, they're usually, or many of them are outside the stadium. Tens of thousands of them are outside of the Garden. They can't do that now, and they're scattered across watch parties in Bryant Park and Central Park and all around the city. But unfortunately, this is also a reflection of the deep division between the rich and everybody else. If you haven't gotten $8,000 just to get into the building, Mamdani says he got in for $1,000 off a ticket he got from MSG. I know some folks who are season ticket holders who got tickets way early. Maybe they got in for less. But if you want to go right now, just to get in the building in the highest of nosebleeds, you're looking at $8,000. And now you can't even hang out outside the stadium because Trump's coming in with the Secret Service, and it will be disruptive. We will try to make it about the game. We'll try to make it about the finals. But unfortunately, Trump is going to make it about him. Play this clip, please, Chris.
And I'm also a Jim Dolan fan. He's a nice guy, okay? He's been a long time wanting to win, and he's a competitive guy, and he's got a team that's amazing. You know, I don't think they've lost a playoff game. Can you imagine that? And it was not looking good. I saw the beginning of the game, and it wasn't looking good. I missed the middle because I talked to generals all night long now. But I watched that end of the game, and they were dominant. Really amazing. And Wemby's a great player. He's going to be a great player, and he is already a great player. I say, how do you guard this guy? 7'5", and he's got a great shot, right? But they find a way to do it. They're really great. They're a great team.
Now, of course, when he does come, he is attaching himself to probably the most unpopular part of the Knicks and the guy that fans hate, Dolan, who owns the Knicks and owns MSG. Now, unless they can walk Trump out maybe in the middle of the national anthem or do some other kind of political trickery, there is no way the boos won't be loud. Or maybe because it's so many rich people this time and not normal fans because the tickets are so expensive. But either way, I don't think there's any way Trump gets through this without boos, and especially if he were to go outside the Garden to any of the watch parties for people who can't pay $8,000 for a ticket. As I said, a Democratic mayor, Mamdani, has said he spent $1,000 for his standing room only ticket. He said he purchased it directly from MSG. Now, with the cheapest price at $8,000, you figured the president would try to relate to the every man who can't get in, every man, every woman who can't get in. Nah, Trump is still Trump. He will be there, and this is what he said to all the others who can't afford to be there like him. Play the clip, please.
They can watch it on television. It's sort of semi-free to watch it on television, but that's the way life goes. You know, you have some, and now if the team wasn't a big success, you could go very easily. So, you know, you can do that too, but that's the way life is. You know, they've had great success. And don't forget, they've suffered also losses, and they've suffered during the bad time.
All right. But here's the thing. I hope that he won't be disruptive. I hope he won't be a jinx. Stephen A. Smith and others have said that he's being outlandishly selfish, and I think that is right. He is, of course, making it all about him. I'm hoping that this Knicks team is so united, so resilient, so focused that they will tune out Trump, they will tune out everything, and they will beat the Spurs and have a chance to wrap it up on Wednesday night here in New York City with a 4-game sweep to claim the first championship since I've been alive. But here's another big issue. This is our new normal. The idea that sports and politics are going to be separated anymore during Trump's life is a fallacy. And I said this was coming. For a long time, I've said the NBA was the one place Trump had stayed away from. He has very low popularity in some of the major cities that host NBA teams. He has very low popularities among black communities and others. And this is his first foray into an NBA game in a long time. But it's not the end. UFC is coming in just a couple weeks to the White House. The World Cup will be here, and he will be all over that. The Olympics are coming in 2028. So there is many, many, many areas of opportunity for Trump to contaminate and politicize that last area of our culture that he still hasn't hit yet. He hit football. He's dabbled in baseball. We know about his love for UFC and boxing. But now that last island, basketball, has been contaminated by Trump. We have to continue to bring light to contrast, to heat, try to bring unity despite all of that, focus on celebrating the love of sports that we have in this country, whether it's the World Cup or the NBA Finals, because joy is a form of resistance. So let's try to share that joy, spread that joy, and tonight and every night of the finals and the World Cup and everything else, stay vigilant. Independent Americans, the 2026 primary races are taking shape, and you can trade on the biggest political races in America on Kalshi. On Kalshi, you can trade primaries, election outcomes, and the biggest political storylines as they happen. For example, you can now trade on who will be the next governor of California. Will it be Javier Becerra? Will it be Tom Steyer? Or will it be Republican Steve Hilton? Now, Becerra's in the lead, Steyer's in second, Hilton is in third. If you put $100 on Tom Steyer, who's got a 17% chance of winning right now, the max payout will be $553.09. So you can place your bets there. Let's talk about other stuff that you can bet on. Will, for example, Pete Hegseth be out as Secretary of Defense before July 1st? You can bet on that on Kalshi right now. If you vote yes, that he will be out before July 1st, and you bet $100, you could win $2,033.27. I don't think he'll be out by July 1st, but I do think he'll be out by the fall. All right, you can also, as I talked about last time, vote on whether or not the traffic at the Strait of Hormuz will return to normal. A $100 bet there, if saying it'll happen before June 15th, would pay out $598.37. And let's talk about another one that I think is very interesting that I told you to watch. Will Trump attend a NBA Finals game? This has changed dramatically. Now it looks like he's going to attend, but if you vote no and you bet $100 and you win, you will make $1,174.30. And here's another one. Will Kash Patel be out as FBI director before August 1st? I think yes. It says there's only a 22% chance, but if you vote yes, if you bet yes and put $100 down, you could win 409 cents. That's how much you could win. Look, on Kalshi, you're trading against your peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. And that changes a lot in politics. But if you listen to the show, you will stay ahead of it, and you will focus on not just what's happening now, but what's happening next. And for a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use the code INDEPENDENT to get $10 when you trade 10. That's Kalshi, Kalshi. You can trade on anything. 18 and older, restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ for those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Independent Americans, place your bets on what happens next on Kalshi. All right, speaking of moments of unity in the past, D-Day was this weekend, and it is a time that many Americans forget. 82 years ago, a courageous, valiant, heroic generation of men and women saved the world from tyranny. And there was a quote from FDR that I posted over the weekend: "Men's souls will be shaken with the violence of war, for these men are lately drawn from the ways of peace. They will fight not for the lust of conquest. They fight to end conquest. They fight to liberate. They fight to let justice arise and tolerance and goodwill among thy people. They yearn but for the end of battle, for their return to the haven of home." It's a reminder of what generations of Americans have fought for and generations of Americans have stood for at a time when Trump is shitting all over that. And so are his minions, because, of course, there's Hegseth doing Hegsethian things. Play the song, Chris.
Hegseth.
Yes, during a speech at a ceremony marking the 82nd anniversary of D-Day, Secretary of War, Acting Secretary of Culture War, Pete Hegseth, could not leave the politics out of it. He focused on illegal immigration and condemning our European allies, even in this sacred and important time. Play the clip, please, Chris.
We forgot that freedom is not free. We forgot that peace is not wished into being. It is bought with purpose, with honor, and with strength. The men who landed on these beaches knew this. The question we ask ourselves is, do we? It's past time we remember what they knew. Their legacy demands far more than quiet reflection. It requires our active vigilance. Sadly, today, different European beaches are stormed by different dangerous ideologies. Beaches in Spain, in Italy, in Greece, and Bulgaria. Boats and men arrive. When will European capitals do something about that invasion?
Hegseth can never just be appropriate or fully respectful. He always has to pull some Hegsethian shit. No matter how hallowed the event or the moment, he continues to disgrace us daily. And so does Trump. And includes an interview appearance he had this weekend at Meet the Press with Kristen Welker. He rarely faces really tough interviews, but he did with Kristen Welker at NBC's Meet the Press, and it did not go well. Play the clip, please, Chris.
You know that I won an election in a landslide, and I got 94% bad press.
But, Mr. President,
you know why I
you've
got
never
that?
presented
Because you have no
evidence.
credibility.
But you've never presented evidence that it was rigged. Let's keep talking about, I want to talk about Todd
You
Blanche.
have more evidence. There's more evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
Your
about...
elections
You
in
went
this
to
country,
court.
we're like a third world country.
But, sir-
Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked,
Mr.
and so is
President-
ABC, and CBS, and CNN.
But, Mr. President-
You're one-sided crooked networks. All right, let's call it quits, because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. President, let's please, I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
I've sat in the rain with you.
I know. I
I've sat in the
traveled
rain
all the
with
way
you
to
for an hour,
Wisconsin.
on and off in the rain, and I've given you enough time. You ought to straighten out your press, because you know what?
Mr.
A
President,
country can never be
We
great
traveled
with a dishonest
Listen,
press.
we
Come on, let's
traveled
go.
all the way to Wisconsin for this interview.
So this interview is why he's afraid of a free and fair press. It's why he wants to eliminate 60 Minutes and NPR and PBS and Stephen Colbert. He wants to eliminate a free and fair press because it reveals him. And that's why it's a top priority for him to destroy the free press. It's the war that Trump will never end, and one that he's been maybe most successful on. It's the war on the free press. But at least in this battle, this weekend, the good guys and gals and the truth won. Meet the Press, if anything else, if nothing else, revealed him in his instability, in his reactionary nature, in his true colors. We saw him for who he is. And that is what the free press is supposed to do. And another reason for us all to stay vigilant. All right, meanwhile, like I said, everything that Trump touches suffers. That includes the Middle East and Iran. Yeah, this is going well. Over the weekend, there were strikes across the Middle East between Israel and Iran. In Lebanon on Sunday, Israel struck the outskirts of Beirut after it said Hezbollah attacked Israel. On Monday, Israel said it struck sites at a petrochemical complex in Iran. Iran retaliated on the Beirut strikes by launching missiles on Israel. And the Israeli military also said the Houthis fired a missile at Israel on Monday, so struck Yemen. Now, the latest is that Iran and Israel say they have abruptly halted military escalation. And the New York Times said that it briefly jeopardized a 2-month ceasefire and brought the Middle East back to the precipice of full-blown war. What kind of ceasefire has been happening? This is the worst ceasefire ever, and it may not be full-blown war. I don't know how you categorize full-blown war, but this is ongoing war. It's definitely a simmer. It's definitely an issue. It's definitely ongoing. It's definitely not over. Stay vigilant. All right, and we continue to find out the truth about the opening days of the Iran attack. And in this show, I often talk about military and veterans and foreign affairs issues that are not necessarily on everybody else's headline. So here's a quick one that's below the radar. Chris Gordon is a reporter at Air and Space Forces magazine. You may not have read that before. Frankly, I hadn't either. But he had a scoop over the weekend that the main U.S. War Air Command Center in the Middle East suffered a direct hit soon after the war with Iran began and was severely damaged. The Combined Air Operations Center at El Udeid Air Base in Qatar was hit by Iranian missiles, and a second facility in South Carolina filled the gap. Chris said that the command center took a direct hit and was severely damaged. The facility was not in use at the time, and no injuries were reported. But this is the first time that this has been shared with the public. The CAOC's proximity to Iran and the damage that it raised questions over whether or not it should be rebuilt. It falls under Air Forces Central, the air component of U.S. Central Command, and a CENTCOM spokesperson has declined to comment. Truth is always the first casualty of war, and we will continue to find out more about what really happened in those first days of the war and what's happened in the months since. But don't believe the government. Believe your eyes and believe the free and fair press that does do the reporting, because Iran is not going well. UFC at the White House is not going well. The NBA finals are still doing well. But overall, this situation in Iran is not going well, and our enemies are celebrating.
Our enemies are celebrating.
All right, but Trump is also celebrating this day because more ICE support is coming. More ICE is coming. Over the weekend, the Senate passed a $70 billion GOP immigration bill. This is a victory for Trump, and it really does give him $20 billion in a 52 to 47 vote. This was Friday morning. It's expected to pass the House. In the middle of the year, the control of Congress is at stake, but Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska was the only Republican to oppose the measure, joining all Democrats. This was after there was a Republican revolt where Republicans pushed back on his $1.8 billion fund for compensating insurrectionists and domestic terrorists. But this is funding for ICE that will cascade over the next couple of years. ICE has been below the radar, but we can't let it do that. They're still the group that gassed kids in Portland and bust into houses without warrants. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention. Every day, more and more, by the day, ICE is ripping America apart. And ICE will be front and center if they happen to pop up at the NBA Finals tonight and definitely around the World Cup. Watch this space and stay vigilant. All right, we talk a lot on this show about independent candidates. We're often the only show that does. Last week, you heard from another independent, Mike Eisenhower from Montana. Shout out to Independent Veteran News that has a new profile on our work at Independent Veterans of America with extensive quotes from me. I'll link to it in the show notes. Check it out. But they talk about how veterans are still trusted in America, maybe the most trusted people. And I've said, we are the people's champion. We're not just moving the needle, we are the needle. Folks, this is the biggest political story in America that most folks aren't covering. Todd Achilles is close in Idaho. Seth Bodnar is neck and neck in Montana. Dan Osborne has a shot in Nebraska, and there are others. But watch the independent veterans. They have a chance to break through, to make history, to provide hope, to provide unity, and give us all a shot in the arm of leadership that we need. And Todd Achilles, right now, is leading the path. Watch this space and stay vigilant. All right. We talked a lot of sports, but over the weekend, the Stanley Cup continued to roll on. Vegas now leads the series 2-1, a thriller on Saturday night. The Golden Knights won 5-4 in overtime, double overtime. Check that against the Hurricanes. Don't forget that the Stanley Cup is going on. I would imagine that Trump will probably make a visit at one of those venues as well. Also, small venues will be very difficult for a president to visit, will be very disruptive, but probably a much more favorable crowd. Either in Carolina with the Hurricanes or in Las Vegas, certainly with the Golden Knights. Also, let's talk about football for a second. There is now news, a statement from Chicago Bears chairman George McCaskey. and President and CEO Kevin Warren that yesterday, this was over the weekend, yesterday, the Chicago Bears Board of Directors met and voted in advance our stadium development project in Hammond, Indiana, with the exact site to be selected. We believe a world-class stadium in Hammond will transform the region, connecting northwest Indiana to the south side of Chicago through the Loop and across neighborhoods and suburbs stretching north of the city. It will bring Chicagoland together and deliver new opportunities to its residents and businesses. The Chicago Bears might not be playing in Chicago anymore. And I'll tell you one thing, if that happens, Governor Pritzker of Illinois will never be president. He will be hammered on this forever and ever. If he loses the Bears, he is cooked. I don't care what kind of legislation he passes. I don't care what happens. If you're the governor in Illinois that loses the Chicago Bears, you're done. I'm a Giants fan. I can't imagine the idea of the Bears not playing in Chicago. And here's a side note. They will not change the name if they do. The Chicago Bears have said they will not change the name. They will still be called the Chicago Bears, even if they don't play in Chicago. Whew, this is one I want to talk to Pritzker about. Come on this show, sir. Look forward to talking to you about this and much more. In the meantime, especially Bears fans have got to stay vigilant.
Stay vigilant. Stay vigilant.
All right, on this Monday, we're talking a lot of basketball. And related in basketball, finally, to end the show, I've got something good.
Something good, oh, something sweet.
You remember Greg Ostertag? Greg Ostertag was a 7-footer, played for the Utah Jazz, Sacramento Kings, played back at Kansas, played with John Stockton and Malone, was a fixture in the NBA. Well, last month, he won an election in his small town of Mount Vernon, Texas, to become the mayor. He won, defeating the incumbent by a total of 245 votes to 210. Ostertag has lived in Mount Vernon, the town, for 11 years. He's going to focus on transparency and bringing more visitors. And here's the thing. He is not party affiliated. He is unaffiliated. He is independent. So this is a win for our independent movement. Greg Ostertag, NBA legend, leader in his community, and very interestingly, that a lot of folks don't know, in 2002, he donated a kidney to save the life of his sister, Amy, who was dying of complications from type 1 diabetes. And upon his return, became the first player in NBA history to play after donating an organ. Greg Ostertag, I invite him to be on this show. Would love to hear his analysis on the NBA Finals, but more importantly, to see him entering politics. I have continued to say that I think celebrities, athletes, musicians, and of course veterans will lead the charge in our independent movement. And it helps to have a 7-footer and 7'4" mayor, Greg Ostertag. I invite him to be on this show and help us understand what's happening and maybe show us a dunk or two and help us stay vigilant. All right, folks, we're going to be dunking all week. And tomorrow, a big guest coming up, a returning champion, Admiral James Stavridis, will be back on the show. The former NATO commander has a new book about the future of warfare that you need to know about. We're going to talk about Iran. I'll get his thoughts on the Knicks and much more. We are daily now. If you don't watch us on YouTube, do me a favor. Go over there and check it out. You can see my Knicks wristband, my Karl Anthony Towns shirt. That's what I'm rocking today. I had Oakley on last week. But we have lots of good content there, including shorts. That's how a lot of people consume our media, is in the 1-minute, 30-second shorts. Be sure to follow us everywhere and subscribe. Check out the Independent Americans merch. You can still get it in time for Father's Day. Shout out to our Patreon community. Sign up for the Morning Independent, our newsletter, blasted into your inbox for free. Every morning you can get it at independentamericans.us. America's divided, but we are trying to bring folks together, like New York is around the Knicks, and San Antonio is too. If you're now among the 45% of Americans who are independent, including the folks in Mount Vernon, Texas, where you have a new Mayor Ostertag, this is your show. Our independent movement is bringing hope for the future. Country over party, people over politics, light over heat. Challenging the status quo and fueling a new movement that spans all across our society, whether you're a Knicks fan or not. But our movement is growing and bringing hope that is the oxygen of our democracy. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please share it far and wide. We are daily, and I'm bringing the fire, and invite others to declare their independence and stay vigilant, my friends, because eternal vigilance is the price of freedom. No, you're not alone in your vigilance. We're all vigilant, and we're all in this together as we start a new week and go deeper into June. I'm your host, Paul Rieckhoff. Thank you for tuning in to Independent Americans. I will see you tomorrow where we will hopefully be up 3-0. If not, we're still coming. Happy Monday. Go New York, go New York, go. Go Knicks. And stay vigilant, America. Stay vigilant. Go Knicks. Go Knicks.
Archipelago, he tells me the left and right are dreams for those without a clue. And when you wake, it's time to grow. And it's not cool to believe in school, but if I can say one thing, I've seen the children of the revolution and the good trouble they can bring. He says the red and blue are dead and independent is an attitude. An island in the sea of rhetoric and archipelago, he tells me the left and right are dreams for those without a clue. And when you wake, it's time to grow.
Powered by Righteous Media.